friends, and welcome back to my crafty space where I share my memory keeping projects and processes with all of you. If you're new here, then hello. My name is Krystal and I am so excited you're here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below so you can see all of my future crafty videos, which I have a lot planned for this year, so make sure you jump on that. Also, any products or supplies or tools that I mentioned in this video, I will have linked down in the description box below. So let's get started for today. Today I am back working with my Feature Craft release that came out in February of 2020, the Treasured Kit. So last time I showed this, or last time we did a process using this kit, I unboxed it for you guys and then completed a project with the supplies, with the kit components. So today I am pulling it back out and making a new project. So this is my little sketch of what I wanted to do. I'll set that to the side because that doesn't really matter too much. But I had two pieces in this kit that inspired me to inspired this project, this specific project, and they are these two cards. So ticket stub and the who, what, when, where, why. So when I unboxed this, I mentioned that this made me think of like a concert, like going to a concert or going to like a live show or maybe even a movie. But to me, it was like, I don't know, it's so show-like. So I went back in my archives and pulled out a variety of pictures from an event that my husband and I went to when we were just dating. So for Christmas, one year he got me tickets to see Maroon 5 and we went to go see them in concert. So what I did is I pulled out some photos from that event. So I've got a picture of the two of us. I've got a picture of the concert itself, and then I also went online and pulled off the album art for the tour that they were on at the time, which was their Overexposed tour. So I pulled those elements. Then what I wanted to do is I took this card right here and I blew it up to make it into a full-size page, which you can see right here. I also colored it to match this album art photo, because I wanted it all to go together and I felt like the pink it just wasn't right. So now this I can set aside and use in a different project at another time, possibly Project Life. Set that aside. So then I pulled out the who, what, when, where, and why, and I thought about just using the black and white, but then there's so much black and white that I figured why not color this as well. So I took the colors from the album art again and made the words the different colors. So, and then I have my journaling, and my plan for today, my plan is to get this in a full page, to have this be in a 4x4 pocket, or not a 4x4, but you know, the 4 3x4 pockets will be these 4 cards. And then in between, I want to do a vellum page with a lyric from one of their songs. So I picked out a set of lyrics from the song Love Somebody, and I'm going to be using the Apollo lower alphabet from Feature Craft. This stamp set also released this month, so I'm going to be using this alphabet stamp to stamp out that title, and potentially some of the stamps from the Treasured stamp set as well. So before we get started on the desk here, I did go ahead and film for you guys the process that I went through in order to make these components. So this card right here, this album art, was a different color. It was way more vibrant and just didn't really go with the feel that I wanted. So on the computer, I'm going to show you how I recolored this, or how I altered the color of the album art, and then how I used this to create my other elements for this page. So let's go over to the computer. I'll take you through that process, and then we'll come back here and I will finish putting this page together. Okay, so we are over on my computer where I'm going to take you through my process of how I plan out these spreads and also how I get some of these cards to their altered sizes. So this one is that ticket stub 4x6 card. And what I just did is I copied it and pasted it onto a canvas that's sized at 6.875 by 8.25. Then I extended the size just a little bit. I didn't do it all the way to the side because I know I'm going to hole punch it. And so I don't want the wording to go all the way to the edges where it would be punched. So instead I just did it a little bit. Then I used the marquee tool to select an area and layer via copy in order to make that space, that big white space, as big as I wanted it to be. And I just kept repeating that until that white space was, big enough for my my taste. Then I opened up a full spread, which I believe I sized it at 12.875 by 8.25. And this is just so I can put all of these cards onto this page and determine where I want things to go before I print them. This card, this details card, is what I want to do my journaling on, except I actually don't want the details part. So I did the same thing where I used my marquee tool to select an area and layer via copy, and then I used the move tool to position it into a different place. I merged the visible layers, and then because I wanted the lines positioned a little bit lower, I just did the same thing, the marquee tool, layer via copy, and then I just budged it down a little bit. So this is the photo that I'm using. I turned it black and white because it was kind of grainy. These were old phones and just not as nice technology back then. So I turned it black and white, put a white border around it, and then that was my picture. So here is the Maroon 5 cover art, the real cover art, and you can see that it is just way too vibrant. So what I'm going to do is go into my adjustments and add a hue. And then I went to the second one. It's like where you can make it more or less vibrant. And all I did was toggle that to the left, so to make it more muted. And that's how I got it to have those colors. Then I went to the muted version of the cover art, and I used my eyedropper tool to grab the purpley color, and then my paint bucket tool back on the ticket stub page, I just clicked on the light pink area in order to turn it all purple. So next what I'm going to do is this. Okay, so this is a canvas that is again that 6.875 by 8.25. This is what I'm going to use to mimic the vellum page. So I just added some text on a white background, and then I opaqued it down about 50%. So then you can kind of see through to the page behind it. Here is where I've got the lyrics that I want to use, and I'm just going to pop that right on top of the ticket stub so I can see what this is going to look like when I get the vellum on there. Now the reason I did that is because I wanted to see how the colors all work together. Now, on this ticket stub page, what I want to do is create a square shape, which is the black shape, and that is going to become my picture. So I copied the picture of the concert and I pasted it onto the canvas. I made sure that it was above the rectangle, and then I applied it as a clipping mask so that the picture became as big as that square. Then I merged those layers down, and that allowed me to just move around the picture. Later, what I'll do is grab the picture only, I'll copy it and paste it onto a larger canvas for printing. So next, I want to go to this who, what, when, where, why, and I want to change the color. So I'm using my eyedropper tool on the art to pick up the different colors. Oh, see, some of those I need to close out of. There we go. And then I'm going and using my paint bucket tool to paint the words to be those colors. So I've got like the pink and the teal and the purple, and I'll pick two more. I know one I do is yellow, and I think the other one's just like another version of pink. Yep, there we go. The one that I printed is actually different than this because I printed it first and then came back here and figured that I should probably show you guys how I did that. So there we go. So there's all the colors. I copied it, pasted it, threw it on here, and I like it much better when the words are colored versus black and white. So this card was the journaling card that I made. What I'm showing you is for this card, I am going to type out my journaling, and what I do is I copy and paste those lines, and I make one for each of the lines, and then when I actually do my journaling, I will go in and add in my text to each individual line. That's how I make sure that they are perfectly spaced onto those lines. Okay, so now I am grabbing that picture right there, and then I'm going to paste it onto this 8.5 by 11 canvas. That's so I can print it on the printer, on the photo paper I've got. And then we're going to go back to my desk. So I'm hoping that by showing you guys that, it can kind of give you an idea of how I not only change those elements, but also how I pre-plan a lot of this to make my process much easier once I get to the desk. So now I just need to trim everything apart. I got the cards all trimmed apart. These are the photos that I had made. And then I also trimmed the vellum down to the 6.875 by 8.25. Now you could just throw the vellum through the printer and print the text straight onto it. You just have to let it dry for a little bit before you touch it, but the ink will dry onto the vellum eventually. I could have done that, but what I really wanted to do was to use that stamp set. So that's why I chose to stamp out the lyrics instead of printing them. It probably would have saved me a little bit of a headache to just print them because let me tell you, it was not super easy, but I do really love the way that it turned out. So you know what? It's okay. Now we're going to adhere on my photo onto that white square, and see, by making it, by creating the rectangle for a clipping mask area, it allowed me to print that photo at the perfect right size to fit inside that rectangle area. So ultimately that really worked out super nicely. Okay, so now I'm just showing you that here is how this page is going to go. I'm going to lay everything out here, and then I'm going to get to work on that vellum piece. You know, actually the first thing I'm going to do before I work on the vellum, I'm going to pull off a stamp set that I want to use, or a stamp from that stamp set that I want to use. So I needed to put on here somewhere I didn't need to, I suppose, but I wanted to put on here somewhere some ticket stubs to show that we were at the Maroon 5 concert and the date. I do have the album art that says Maroon 5, and I also have a date written on my journaling, which, full disclosure, I totally typoed that. So I wrote on there that we went to this concert in 2012, but we actually went to this concert in 2013. So I get it right when I am writing it out by hand, but I totally got it wrong in my journaling. So there can never be a project without a typo. It's just, that does not happen. It does not exist. There's always a typo. So I am using my scrapbook.com black dye ink for these. It's my favorite to use for most all of my stamping. And I just did 3 of those ticket shapes, and I am going to fussy cut them out. These are my Cutter Bee precision scissors. I really love them. I actually really don't mind fussy cutting. I know some people just despise it, but I really like it, so it does not bother me. So I cut those out, and then I will only decide to use 2 of them because I just want to layer them up at the bottom. And honestly, 2 made sense because there were only 2 of us that went to the concert, you know, Erin and myself. So I've got those figured out that I want the 2 of them. And now I'm going to get to work on this quote, or this lyric. So the first thing I did was to write it out on a piece of paper. And this is a big tip for you guys. When you are stamping something, a quote or a lyric or a saying that is this long and has this many letters, it is so easy to mess it up. And I will tell you that even though I wrote it up there, and even though I tried really hard to get it right, I actually had to redo this 3 times. So I did not get the whole thing right until the 3rd time. And by that time, I was like, kids, you got to go to bed. And husband, you need to be quiet because I cannot concentrate. And if I get this wrong one more time, then I'm totally giving up. So glad that I didn't and that I just kept going and kept trying. So here is vellum piece number 3. And with this one, I will finally get it right. Now, I did, for those of you who know that my StazOn ink is drying out, I actually did go and purchase a new one. So I've got a new StazOn that's nice and juicy. But I didn't like how juicy it was. Like, I thought it was, I don't know, almost like, especially on the vellum, it didn't soak in really well, so it almost had a smeared look to it. So I actually ended up using my dry pad, and I like the way that it turned out because it's not perfect, and I actually think that's pretty cool. So there it is. There's the whole quote from the lyrics of Love Somebody by Maroon 5, and it makes a lot of sense because of the occasion. You know, so while I'm finishing the embellishing here, which I'm just going to put on some tickets and put on some puffy heart stickers. While I'm doing that, I'm going to read you my journaling really quick. So I said on Valentine's Day 2012, which is really 2013. So on Valentine's Day 2013, Aaron took me to see Maroon 5 in concert. It was their overexposed tour and was opened by 2 additional bands we both love, Owl City and Neon Trees. We had an amazing time. The show was spectacular with great music and a fantastic light show. Maroon 5 definitely knows how to entertain. As soon as I knew we were going, I was convinced it would be the day Aaron would propose. I was so excited, but it never came. While I was sitting there anticipating the moment, he had decided it was too obvious and chose to wait until a less obvious moment. I'm glad he did. It made his proposal a surprise and so special. So, so we went to this concert in February. So on Valentine's Day in 2013, literally, you guys, 1 month later, actually less than a month later, he proposed to me. So it was going to happen. We had been dating at this point for 3 years, I believe. And so, you know, I was ready for it and I was so excited and I was so bummed that it didn't happen. But you know what? We had a great time anyway. And it was a really fun concert and kind of a funny memory to look back on now, knowing that that was not the moment that the big question was going to be popped. So, well, there it is. So that is kind of why I chose this specific lyric. Also, a lot of Maroon 5 songs, listening back to them now, are all about like breakups and bad relationships. So that wasn't going to work. I couldn't put a lyric about a bad relationship with the spread about us. So this was probably the only one I could find that was positive. So there it is, which is, if I fall for you, I'll never recover. If I fall for you, I'll never be the same, which is perfect. I think it was perfect. So the last thing I'm doing here is pulling out my puffy heart stickers. Those first ones were from Feature Craft, but I just felt like they were too bright based on the colors of the rest of my spread. So then I pulled out this set that is from Ellie's Studio, and the colors are a little bit more muted. So like there was this black one that was really awesome for up there, and then I'll choose a small teal because there's that tealy color in the Maroon 5, what is that called? Album artwork. And then I'm going to choose one more, which is a gray that's got these purpley undertones. And I just thought that looked nice. Also, I forgot to mention that I stamped sentiment on top of that black and white picture. So then I'm just going to put that picture back in the pocket. I will grab my story album. This is the family story album, which is like Aaron and I and our family. And then that will do it. I'll slow back down and close you guys out. All right, you guys. So that does it for this spread. It came together really awesome. I mean, pretty much exactly how I saw it in my mind when I was designing this idea. I love how this page came out. It is super cool. I'm glad I used that ink that's a little drier because the text on it looks almost more vintage that way. It just is really super cool. All right, so that is going to be it for me today. I hope that you guys feel inspired to maybe go back into your memory archives and document a story from your past, or to take an alphabet stamp that you have and do a page that is a full page quote or a lyric or a saying or something that has meaning for you guys. Yes, so until next time, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!